Today, we are going to talk about the normative theories of ethics and how ethical leadership applies in today's corporate sector. We'll do so by profiling the former CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick. My name is Michelle Reese. I'll be your presenter today. I am an executive program manager enrolled in the MBA program here at the University of Laverne, and I look forward to discussing this topic with you today. Let's start by defining our core theories. Normative ethics is a branch of moral philosophy that helps us determine what is right, what is wrong. The answers to these questions fall into two broad categories: deontological and teleological. Today, we are going to hone in on the deontological side of the house with the ethical leadership theory. Ethical leadership is defined as the demonstration of normatively appropriate conduct through personal actions and interpersonal relationships. I'm sure you're wondering, what would that look like? An ethical leader would be a credible role model, someone who emulates desired ethical attitudes and behaviors for their subordinates. They would provide rewards for ethical conduct and consequences for those who don't follow the standards. They would combine a consistent moral character with a focus on organizational norms, standards, and rule compliance. So, now that we have an idea of what right looks like, let's assess someone who got it very wrong. Travis Kalanick was an LA native, born in 1976. He attended UCLA to study computer engineering and business economics. Of note, he was a member of the Theta Xi fraternity, which would foreshadow his leadership style and unethical tendencies, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. A somewhat serial entrepreneur, Travis always had an ambitious spirit. He started his first company in 1994 as a freshman in college. Eventually, he dropped out of college and spent the years starting companies, dodging legal disputes, and investing in startups before launching Uber Cab in 2009. Uber as we know it today began in 2012 with the launch of UberX, which allowed customers to hail reasonably priced cars in competition with Lyft. That marked the start of what we now call the gig economy. So, if Travis Kalanick changed the world, how could he have been unethical? Well, some of Travis Kalanick's most notable controversies include his personal behavior, unethical business practices, and the overall toxic workplace culture that he tolerated. Let's start with his behavior. Kalanick's aggressive business approach and personality traits were key to building his business empire. But those same traits, when not harnessed by maturity, proved destructive. He became well known and criticized for his brash behavior. Many believed his frat boy background contributed to him leading Uber in an informal, bro like way. And it's not hidden. There are plenty of public examples of his use of sexist language within the company and outside of it, whether in a public GQ interview or, as you can see, emailing staff crass guidelines to follow during a party weekend in Miami. His informal bro leadership style was toxic and immature. Under Kalanick's leadership, Uber had been riddled with unethical business practice accusations. Their price surging policy was scrutinized for price hikes during crisis situations. They were accused of tracking user iPhone data. They were accused of stealing intellectual property from Waymo, which actually resulted in the loss of a $245 million lawsuit. And even their senior executives committed unethical behavior, as you can see on the screen in red. While appalling, this is not surprising. As we mentioned before, what leadership tolerates will set the standard for what will be tolerated throughout the company. In Uber's case, it led to an overall toxic workplace culture, a culture where sexism, bullying, and harassment were considered normal. This all came to a head in 2017 when a former Uber engineer named Susan Fowler wrote a blog post detailing her experience of sexual harassment and discrimination at the company. This led to an internal investigation which uncovered more than 200 cases of sexual harassment and other workplace misconduct. All of these controversies, topped by the results of the internal investigation, led Travis Kalanick to resign as CEO in June 2017. So, how does this happen? How could a man that built a Silicon Valley powerhouse be so destructive? Well, Shark Tank investor and Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban put it best when speaking with the New York Times. Travis's biggest strength is that he will run through a wall to accomplish his goals. Travis's biggest weakness is that he will run through a wall to accomplish his goals. That's the best way to describe him. End quote. The motivation that helped him build the company were destructive when not harnessed by maturity and proper education. A lot of ethical education and discussion is had in business school. Kalanick dropped out of college in undergrad. College dropouts are given a lot of praise when they start companies that become successful, but it is less widely recognized that those same college dropouts go on to hire experts who have completed an education in business. Another reason for his poor ethical judgment and conduct could have been that the business grew too quickly. Uber did not create the position of Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer until 2018, after Kalanick's departure. And this was not exclusive to just Uber. Uber's troubles contributed to a cultural landscape that plagued 2017 as a whole. In October of 2017, powerful movie producer Harvey Weinstein was accused by dozens of women of predatory sexual behavior that sparked the Me Too movement, prompting people to speak out about sexual harassment they encountered using the hashtag MeToo. Then there was also the Uber data breach. In that same month, it was discovered that Uber had concealed a massive data breach that compromised the personal information of 57 million global customers and drivers from the year before. That cultural landscape, mixed with Travis Kalanick's leadership style, was a recipe for disaster. Let's assess the results of some of that damage. Kalanick's tenure as Uber CEO had a significant impact on society and the community. The theoretical dimension of ethical behavior includes role modeling normatively appropriate behavior and conducting one's personal life in an ethical manner. Kalanick's behavior and leadership were grossly inappropriate, both in the office and out of it. Unwittingly, Kalanick showed his employees what he considered right and wrong to look like and what standard he would accept. His impact on the organization was most significant. The theoretical dimension of ethical behavior includes interacting fairly and having a concern for followers. This is best shown by treating employees fairly and having the best interest of employees in mind. Susan Fowler's 2017 expose of company's culture affirmed that this was not the case at Uber. She described her experience at the company as strange, fascinating, and slightly horrifying. She was subjected to sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and an inept human resources department. Fowler's article prompted the internal investigation at Uber that uncovered the trove of misconduct that eventually led to the resignation and demise of Travis Kalanick. So, for final thoughts, Uber is an incredible company. It was an ingenious idea set forth by scrappy young adults with an entrepreneurial spirit. They should be proud of what they accomplished. But they also needed guardrails. If I would have been in the building of Uber, I would have recommended we establish a code of ethics, a code that outlines our organization's values and provides guidance to everyone on how to behave, a code that we would not only post on the walls, but hold people accountable to abiding by. I would have introduced a global business standards codex, the set of principles we can use as guidelines to create the code of ethics. I would ensure we aligned with the 8 ethical principles, most especially transparency, dignity, fairness, and citizenship. I believe this would be the best way to avoid employing a CEO who is free to commit ethical violations. Even genius CEOs are human. When left up to their own devices, they may shy away from doing what is universally right to doing what feels right to them. Official guidelines would act as guardrails and give employees the framework to think before acting and a path to seek guidance when unsure. This concludes our presentation for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the email listed